What is transcreation? Well, quite simply, it's the creating of content for separate purposes and audiences. I'm going to read this off as it says there. Addressing the needs of the target audience, creating compelling local buying environments which will avoid confrontation, avoid offence, make an easy buying process, and also make an easy, clear returns or delivery process. In essence, what you're trying to create, in the words of the League of Gentlemen, is a local shop for local people, but hopefully with a lot better service and a little bit of a friendly environment. Now, I want to show you a couple of sites here which show the different phases of localization. This is the first one which I'm going to show. Now, this is a leading sports retailer. And this is an example, actually, of the more passive approach into e-commerce localization. I've taken this site, this is their Italian site, and it's actually a very good site because it's been localized for the Italian market. As you can see, it's in Italian, that's a good start. But it also features things like news events and things which relate more to the Italian market. And they do this for all of their local markets. So if there are swimmers, let's say in the UK, who have just won races or things like that, they'll put news events relating to that onto their site. They've also got some social comment there with their Facebook site. All looks very good, all looks very friendly, all looks very compelling. It makes me, as an Italian, feel like I can walk my way through this site and I feel I'm being engaged with. I then go into the store, and there's a store button right in the top left-hand corner, and what do I see? What do I see? Well, first of all, I think, I don't understand, it's in English. I don't speak English. Well, I might speak English, but I'm now going to be really obnoxious and awkward and say I don't speak English, and I'm out of that site straight away. What they've done is they've created an international site which trades in euros, which is going to cover a percentage of the market, but not a huge amount of the market. But this is a phase one approach that they've taken. Now, as an Italian, I might look at that and think, well, okay, I'll try and buy something online. And I'll go through the process of buying things, and I'll use my pidgin English to try and get through to where I want to be. And when I get through to the sizes, I'm kind of snookered because the Italian size, the European size is a little bit different to the UK sizes, and they may not have put all of the different sizes on there. And when it comes to the delivery, I'm really snookered because I don't understand the terms. I'm out of there. I'm off to the next site straight away. And the other thing to bear in mind here is if I'm searching for things in Italian, the all the SEO work for that site has actually been done in English. So I'm not going to land on that commerce site. I'm actually going to land at a local Italian sportswear retailer who's actually going to pick up the business as opposed to that particular retailer. So it's an approach. It's not a bad approach. It's a start-off approach. It's a phase one approach. But I'm now going to show you a site where it's been done very, very well. And that is Lush. And I guess we all know Lush, provide very nice, smelly bath products. And that's their Italian site. And again, it's all in Italian, which is, again, a good start. And it's also been optimized for the Italian market. And it features a little cheeky bum in the corner there. And I don't know what it says on there, but it's probably something a little bit saucy and a little bit Italian, and it works for that market. If I now show you what their Kazakhstan site looks like, you'll see that it's very, very different. The cheeky bum's gone, the imagery, or any imagery that's on there is gone, and all they've got is a bottle of product and a lot of text. But it works for the Kazakhstan market. And if I look at the Australian site, it just says, leave girls wanting it. Now, they used to have another one on there which had a couple in a shower saying, we like it rough. It worked for the Australian market. It wouldn't translate to other markets. And I actually tested this out, not by buying stuff on Lush, but I actually went through onto their commerce site. I clicked through into their shop, their Italian shop, and guess what? The whole lot's in Italian. Now, we talk about compelling buying experiences. If I go through onto my international English site, do I really feel compelled to buy? Do I really feel like I want to buy anymore? I feel much more compelled as an Italian to go through this process and actually go through the whole buying process to the end. And that's one up for Lush, and that's good work. I'm actually very impressed by the way that they've done that. So, I mean, if you're looking to localize your web presence and engage in global e-commerce, how do you go about making decisions on your language partner? There's so much about out there. There's so many choices that you have, how you translate and how you localize. Have any of you here used Google Translate? Probably used it. It's actually good fun sometimes to use it. I'm going to mention Justin Bieber, because I think he's been mentioned a couple of times already in various presentations. But if you go into Google Translate and if you put in there, will Justin Bieber ever reach puberty? And then you translate that into Vietnamese, and then you retranslate the Vietnamese back into English, the English translation actually says, Justin will never reach puberty. So I don't know how they get that, but hey, it might be true. So I was playing around the other night on this. And as the Rugby World Cup's going on at the moment, and I'm a passionate Welshman, I thought, okay, I'm going to put in here, using the same sort of will somebody do something, I put, will Wales win the World Cup? And I translated it into Vietnamese, and then I translated the Vietnamese back into English, and it said, Wales World Cup champions. I'll take that any day. I was then going to go, will England win the World Cup? And I was hoping it was going to say no, but I didn't go that far. But, you know, is that good enough for us when we're looking at our e-commerce sites? Of course it's not. It's not something which you can consider there. So it's important that when you're looking at your language partner, you look at language partners who can understand things like your business model at the moment and be able to buy into and influence, where necessary, what your strategy is for localization. You know, they must be able to express your e-commerce requirements as well as you can. You know, you have to have a two-way dialogue in a language and in a culture that you both understand. You both need to understand what their end game is. And your language partners must be able to work with you to overcome those internal and external barriers I put up earlier and advise on the best practice in each location and incorporate the technologies that you need in this business to enable you to work at the pace of e-commerce. It is no good going out and providing translation texts out to translators and then giving them 3 weeks to try and figure out whether they even want to do the work or not. It has to be an automated process. If you're bringing products online and you want those products online and available in 15 languages and you want it by next week, you need to be able to have the management resources and the processes in place to make that happen. And if it doesn't, you're working with the wrong language providers. It's important also they need to be able to understand the domestic market because they're talking to you as the client. So if you're based headquarters in France, they need to understand exactly how you work domestically in that French market and have the ability to then project manage centrally and then be able to engage locally with access to local-based translators and transcreators. Ooh, go back one. E-commerce isn't easy. E-commerce localization is even harder. And it's far more than just translation. But if you do it correctly and you do it strategically, it is actually having a measurable impact on a number of companies' revenues moving forward. And if you're being squeezed in your local markets, or you've got the vision for global expansion, it's a core element of your e-commerce strategy. And we all talk again of engaging all our online customers. And we talk about the value of our online customers. And surely, you know, if we're really serious about global e-commerce, we should at least respect our customers enough to engage them in their local language and within the local culture that they expect us to understand. Sometimes it can go too far. Sometimes localization can be localized a little bit too far. And Microsoft found this when they launched a rather localized product. Now, for those of you outside the UK, you may not fully understand this. Where is it? It's gone there. There it is. Microsoft Windows, which was the Geordie version of Windows, and they had to do quite a lot of localization for the various buttons on there. And believe me, this is purely a joke. They would never have quite gone down this line. They also did a Microsoft Aussie version as well. I couldn't put it up because I couldn't even edit out the buttons to make it safe and sane for a presentation. But no, if you get it right, and if you're serious about making it a proper localization, then that's got to be the way forward for companies who are looking to globalize their e-commerce strategy. And that's it. I haven't got a slide that says questions. I've only got a slide that says thank you. But any questions, welcome.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Jeremy. Throw open to the floor. Maybe time for one or two quick questions.
Yeah.
English-only site to serve customers in Italy and Spain, and then you know how the markets are doing, etc. Do you feel that those pan-European English-only sites are worth it at this stage of the game, or is it basically, in your view, you're serving too small of a customer to even bother?
It's a tough one. It is a tough one because you've got to start somewhere. Personally, I don't think it's worth it. Personally, I think you've got to do it properly, and you've got to really plan this as part of your strategy and say, okay, what are all of my global markets that I want to attract, and how do I interact with those correctly from day one? In terms of resource, in terms of management of that, it's tough, it's difficult. And is that going to extend your go-to-market by 12 months, by 18 months, by 2 years? If it does, that might be a costly delay. So it's difficult to know which direction to go in, and it's really down to the individual company as to how they approach it. It's an approach, okay? It's an approach, but do not expect too much of a return on that. Don't do it if it's going to impact too heavily on your brand or on your ongoing plans. If you can do it without there being too much of an impact on your business, if you can do it with a little bit of increase in revenue, if you can do it with not a great deal of investment there, and you're happy with the returns on that, it is a way to approach the market. But we have to accept now that the global market isn't about the dollar and the euro and the yen. Those days are gone. It's about all of the other currencies that people want to work in and all the other languages that they want to work in. So sometimes you have to step back a little bit before you make that approach and say, okay, let's think about the strategy here in a bit more detail. Which specific countries do we really want to be hitting? And why do we want to be hitting them? And how do we approach them? And what is the cultural differences in those countries? And what is the best way to actually approach them in a way that we can engage with the customers? And how do they like to pay? And what are the colour schemes that work? And does our brand, you've got to think about that. If the answer at the end of that is, hey, it's not going to be too painful for us to just have an international Euro site, go for it. It's better than nothing at all.